And then we're going to start today by oming in. So come into a comfortable seated position. Bring your hands to heart center. Close your eyes and feel that you can root down towards the ground, and it gives you a little bit more lightness to lift up through the very center of your body, strengthening and lengthening your spine. And just take a moment appreciating that we're not alone in this moment, even if we find ourselves alone in the room. And taking the take the step to make your practice a dedication to someone else, someone beyond just your higher self. Then empty your breath, and we're going to sound 3 ohms. Take a deep inhale. Open your eyes, relax your hands down, and just slide your feet together in front of you. And you want about 2 hands length between your heels and your groin. Take your hands to your shin. And first we're going to effort lifting our chest up to the sky, opening, broadening our sternum. Take a full breath in. And then with your exhale, soften and start to roll down. Now, if your lower back is tender, you can always come into this pose actively by really walking your fingers forward, hinging forward with a neutral or active spine. And then once you've reached your kind of where your body starts to resist, to start to soften, letting your head drop towards your feet. Take a full inhale, and with your exhale, just sigh out your breath. Take a moment to see if you remember your dreams. Now you might find yourself in the afternoon, and so they're far, far away, or even in late morning, they might be far away already. And then stretch your imagination out into the stars. And with your next couple breaths, maybe even in your imagination, feel your belongingness in this starry expanse. And then start to invite your awareness closer to you and just notice how your thinking has been so far today. Then allow yourself to come closer and also notice, how have you been feeling today? What feelings have danced in the like center stage, taken up the role of the protagonist? Notice if you can relax your tongue a little bit more, let your jaw be soft. Maybe feel like your elbows are heavy. And with your next inhale, roll up. And let's take a lion pose as a counter pose. So put your feet on the ground, spin your toes back towards you, lift up your hips, drop your head back if that's okay for your neck. Otherwise, keep your chin towards your chest, stick out your tongue, and look at your third eye, and with a whisper, roar like a lion. 2 more times. Inhale, lift your hips, push the ground away, and exhale. Inhale. And then bring your hips back down, gracefully wipe off your chin. Or, let it be wet. Maybe you like that kind of thing. Okay. And then you're gonna we're coming into shoelace pose, which sounds nice and cute, but it's, I find, one of the hardest, most challenging postures. So nice we get to do it early in the class. You're gonna take your left ankle so it's over your right knee. So the bony part of your ankle is sticking out to the right of your right knee. Now flex your foot. Oh, you're right. You're right. I'm just making so many mistakes today. Not today, this week. Just kidding. Let's check your flexibility. Shoelace pose, like Sabine reminded me, is the one where you wiggle your knees together, hug your knees together, and then sit back down. I was jumping ahead to square pose. And now you can take your fingers by your seat, lift up your seat, pop your booty back a little bit, and then slowly slowly soften over your knees. Slowly soften over your knees. Allow your tongue to relax. Giggling is okay because we know we're breathing. And I think each one of us has probably experienced a good fit of giggles can make you feel way better than a lot of things. Yeah. Now I got my neighbor to giggle a lot yesterday because I told her the story that I wrote about in my newsletter, that I totally managed to hang my paintings in the wrong order because I was so paying attention to the details. I didn't notice that the middle horses were switched. And her laugh was like, that story was funny, but it was also a little bit like she needed to unwind. She'd come back from an intense weekend taking care of somebody else's child. And giggling and laughing, like you take deep breaths because you're kind of gasping for it. Get some abdominal workout. You shake, maybe even cry a little bit. And we feel better. So back to our check-in, the regularly scheduled program. Notice. how your body is feeling. How's the energy in your body? How are the sensations? As the intensity climbs, notice if there's any place that you can soften a little bit or let go a little bit instead of kind of clenching to not feel. And then with your inhale, roll up. And you're going to sweep your left leg behind you. And we're going to take about 3 or 4 breaths first with our chest lifted. Take that moment also to reach through your big left toe. If your right buttocks is off the ground, you can make the adjustment of bending your left knee or putting a bolster underneath your buttocks or doing nothing. For some people, it's not a big deal. It doesn't feel particularly hard or challenging. Now inhale, lift up your chest, look up perhaps, and then start to walk forward, keeping your heart open as you lay your chest down, bringing your hands together, stretching through your big left toe. So I mentioned before we started the recording, I believe, that we're going to do a liver sequence today. And even the sequence itself can sometimes actually elevate kind of your reactivity or even anger. So if that happens throughout the class, just notice it and invite it in instead of trying to push it away. Even now, after we've checked through kind of our different bodies, take a moment also to invite in, especially these challenges, these places in our life where we have to exert our will to stay connected to our heart, to stay connected to who we want to be. There's so many archetypes and concepts and imaginations and physical processes that are connected to the liver that makes it really the organ to concentrate on in our time now, and not just in our personal lifetime, of course, each one of us definitely, but really it as like it is our, in some ways, our most modern organ. And one of the quite physical basic elements of our liver is that it's a layer of protection for us, that the liver is aiming to handle all of the foreign toxins, all of the foreign objects, so to say, that come into our body that don't serve life in our body. And it seems that as we have evolved, we've just gotten, you know, more refined with the toxins that we can, make available, that are willingly taken up and in. With your next inhale, start to walk your hands towards your knee, passing through lifted swan again, and then roll onto your right buttocks, and ta-da, with your left toes pointing up, you're in the next position of the posture. I probably see it better if I move forward. And then you start to walk your hands forward and just lay down or drop your chin down. Maybe you can feel your heel and your belly button, maybe not. Take those first initial breaths to soften into the pose. So you find your yes a little bit for the posture. And it first starts as an idea. And then as you stay, as a challenge. And then as you stay the whole time, it becomes real. It becomes the truth of the matter. So part of what's so genius about the liver is that it is designed to be able to take on the unknown, to be able to react to what is not known. And very few places in our education do we actually have a real discourse about how to honor the unknown. We always want to know, we want to put definitions and diagrams and understanding and illustrations. We want to find, we want to discover what's real. I believe it's Wendell Berry actually wrote a poem about if you want to know darkness, you don't go into the darkness with a light. You take your time to find yourself real darkness. So whenever we try to categorize, manage, identify the unknown, it often is incomplete. And in our vanity, either we ignore something, the unknown, or we can find wisdom and grace and include the unknown in all of our plans. A yoga teacher of mine talked about leaving the house 10 minutes early in case they met a person who needed a conversation on their way walking to the studio. With your next inhale, roll up. And do a couple of twists, maybe have some nice fluffy arm movements, just because it's fun and you can. And let it twist your belly button over your left leg and not knock down your paintings. And then bow over your left leg, letting your head drop towards your knee. Letting your elbows be heavy. We're so uncomfortable with the unknown that, you know, one of the really like popular things about astrology that's becoming very more and more popular, I would say it's like on the rise, is this whole like predicting what's going to happen when. And I find it interesting, you know, just like yoga, just like so many other things, that we have lots of people studying one thing and it can be used in such different ways. You know, my aim studying astrology is actually trying to invite more understanding of the cosmos and the mystery, like more space for the mystery in us. But there's a lot of people who are like predicting things and, you know, kind of have the drama and the antics of other media, like a reality show or, you know, some online series. It's like, oh my gosh, Mercury's gonna hit that point and da 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 da. You hear a lot of students talk about like, oh yeah, you know, Chiron's returning, it's hitting that point and it's doing this to me and it's doing that to me. Even in the very language we choose, we propagate and show our belief around things. So like Jupiter's not going around like hitting the third degree of Taurus, you know, it's not hitting anything. Jupiter is being itself and passing through. So even in your own smaller story, if it's not about the planet Jupiter, how do you use your language? To kind of protect yourself from the unknown. And with your next inhale, start to roll up. And you're going to bring your feet back together in front of you. Oh, you know what? You're right, Sabine. I should just have Sabine teach today. It would be way cooler, I think. How about we put our hand behind our hip, our right hand behind our hip, and stretch our left arm up, because that is really one of the sweetest reasons to do that series. So stretch the whole left side out. Take a full inhale. With your exhale, just sigh it out. And then bring your hips back down. That was so much better. Thank you. All right, Sabine, what are we doing next? We're going to put our toes together and our heels, 2 hands length away from our groin again. But instead of going forward, let's go backwards. So come back onto your elbows. If it's okay for your neck, drop your head back. If it's not okay for your neck, you can keep your chin towards your chest. And about halfway through the pose, I'll invite you to slide your elbows out to the side and your upper body can come to rest on the ground as well. Feel free, if you need to do that before I tell you to do it. So if we look into one of my favorite rants. Our education, our mainstream education, the education that most of us have been through, even in Waldorf schools, there's a lot of it, if not, thank goodness with other stuff too. But a lot of our education has been about defining things and categorizing things and studying material things. And even our parents unknowingly kind of, tried to push us into this conventional idea of different structures that actually don't serve you becoming you. So whether it's like you got a job that you didn't suit you, or you did a type of education that ended up not being anything other than inviting you into the American dream of debt. Whatever the kind of delusion was, or the illusion, a lot of us have been fooled into being taught that the physical reality is more important than any other reality. But even in everyone's lifetime, they'll have a moment where, maybe you did make all those make all those monies. See, I can't even talk about it properly. And it still didn't make you happy. Or maybe you did do, all those tests and scored brilliantly and you still felt stupid. Or, maybe you followed all the right, things that you're supposed to do as our, the social mores dictate. And still you didn't find success and happiness in a partnership and what you wanted. And even for some, the discovery doesn't happen till the deathbed. So start to slide your elbows out to the side before we get to the deathbed part. Your upper body on the ground. And take the mudra, triple diamond mudra. So your thumbs are together, your index fingers together, and your other three fingers stretching out. Slide your thumbs right to where the ground and your head meet. You don't have to lift up your head or do anything, but you're going to stay quite active through your three fingers on each hand. But there comes this moment where you realize, like, there's something more important than the physical stuff. There's so much more that's important, more important than the physical stuff. And that ultimately our goal is much more of an energetic goal and not at all a physical goal. And this is the moment where you touch on something that is absolutely fundamental to not only understanding yourself, but actually understanding the whole universe. That in matter, a moment is visible where something that started out energetically becomes physical. And if you keep on watching in nature, in matter, whether we're talking about a fern or actually even a building, after something has been physicalized, like it's so cool in butterflies, you can actually see like their wings become more transparent before they die. It's like they become more translucent. I mean, even if you think about like cut flowers, how like they're beautiful and full of life and the water is fresh, you keep them full of life for about a week and then they just give up the ghost. The life cannot be sustained in their situation any longer. And something changes, something leaves the physical element of the plant. And then slowly start to Bring your elbows in and lift yourself up. And you're going to bring your right ankle to the outside of your left. Nowhere. I just thought I'd make the same mistake on both sides so you feel really balanced. You're going to come up onto your knees and you're going to give your knees a good cuddle. Cuddling into each other. And then sit down in between your heels. Take your hands next to your hip. Slide your butt back so you're tilting your pelvis. And then soften forward. Bringing either your forehead to your knees or your chin, or even for some people, their chest. You know, it's been a while since I've had such a long lifespan, but they say that it takes, an oak 300 years to finally reach its maturity. And then it's mature and a full-grown oak tree for 300 years. And then it takes 300 years for the oak tree to die. And I'm not sure if that really includes, I think it probably must be a whole bunch of other years, maybe 300, for the oak tree after it's dead to return to the earth. Or maybe it's 3 weeks, but I really think it's much more like 300. But there's something about this movement of life through matter that is a cycle that continues on and is echoed around us in every living thing that we look at. Even take a baby. I usually joke about oh, how wonderful we don't get outlines of middle-aged men coming coming out as our babies. But also just know isn't it wonderful we don't our babies don't come out right away with all of their neuroses and idiosyncrasies and that sound that can just be particularly annoying to us, as the first thing. But they come out with this pure attention, with this one thing that wasn't on earth before they were here. And we see even as they come out, their bones are soft. And then we see them fill up more and more with substance and this sense of individuality. And then later in life we can even sometimes we see the leaving of consciousness before the body's done having a heartbeat. But it's the same cycle that's echoed. Something moves into matter and solidifies, and then something is possible, and then something moves out of matter, leaving that matter transformed. We want to apply this understanding not only to our own becoming or that of a tree or a plant, but to understand that that is even true for the whole body and being of Earth. That is true for the moon, for Venus, for Jupiter. And then start to roll up. And you're going to sweep your right leg back. I notice I often actually like to tuck my toes of my right foot, push my heel back, and then lengthen my foot, the top of my foot. Do what you like, but just try it out perhaps. And then stay lifted for a couple of breaths, feeling a wonderful stretch in the front of your body, all the way through the front of your hip flexor here and the belly of your thigh. No wonder I'm so hungry all the time. Even my thigh's got a belly. just kidding. And then leading with your chest, start to walk your hands forward and soften into pigeon, sleeping swan on the left side. So when we look at this life cycle of energy becoming incarnated and then excarnated, and we start to honor this in our own becoming, how does it reorient our goals? Does it inspire us to actually become more ourselves? Because that's the part that is, it's beyond the body. It's not just your particular toes or your particular bones or your shape or your face, even your eyes, the soul to your window. It's not it. There is something that is far bigger, something that is more energetic, that lives most fully somewhere. Where is it? Is it, like you can see how much like personal space differs from culture to culture. And we notice that with our imagination, we can stretch our beingness to include the biggest ideas. But notice that we leave some essence of some liveliness, whether it's in, artwork or words that we said to somebody else or acts that we performed in service of somebody else. They don't disappear when you leave the room. They have a life that is separate from just your physical existence now, after they've been said, after they've been done. Notice even now in this posture how much your own thinking provokes sensation or allows your suffering to appear differently. Would things change if I said, okay, honey, you're going to stay here for an hour? We're not. I'm just using this as an example, but try it on for a moment. And that it gets a little bit more intense, doesn't it? But how much our inner conversation, our inner reaction, our feelings aren't separate from the sensations in our body, aren't separate from the energy in our body, but still work on those elements, affect your relationship to those elements. As we come towards the end of the pose, see if you can just soften a little bit more, if you can relax your tongue, if you can, despite your sensations, find kindness in you or encouragement, empowerment. Practicing for our capacity to be kind even in uncomfortable situations out in the world off our yoga mat. And then start to walk your hands back towards you, lifting up and then rolling to your left buttocks. Ta-da! And seeing maybe this side you're way more bendy, maybe not. Start to slide down to the floor or soften your back and curve down to the floor. Take a full inhale with your exhale, side up. I mean, even a sigh, it's not just like there's something that moves with it, doesn't it? It's not just simply the exhale, the release of CO2. So this agreement we made coming here to live with our livers is a crazy agreement. Because it's like our liver, especially in our liver, there is this element where when it's flourishing and doing well and the energies are balanced, it helps boost and increase our capacity to be kind. And when it's out of balance, it handicaps us by increasing our capacity to fly into a rage or be angry or swallow our anger and try not to talk about it. And these two extreme reactions are the basis of so much of our becoming. Isn't it that we're trying to find the kindness within us to actually be, radically hospitable so that we can be kind to any human no matter what their circumstance? And yeah, ultimately, that we can be kind even in situations that bring up the hardest karmic challenges for us. Can we find this willpower to, instead of being hurt and re-wounded, to even in those places find generosity and kindness rather than our usual go-to offense and dismissal? Before we lift up, see if you can soften down a little bit more. And then start to roll up, keeping your legs as they are. Secretly excited and delighted to just do a little bit more. So lift up your elbows or do a nice woo-woo dance. And then bow over your beautiful right leg. Letting your head drop towards your knee or just thinking about your knee. Take a full inhale. With your exhale, sigh out, feeling your body drop towards your left leg a little deeper. If we just think about how much our capacity for kindness really is kind of a measure of how we're going to deal with meeting our karma in this lifetime. Because it's in these moments that we actually, where we're hurt, where we're offended, where we're pushed away, that we actually have to dig the deepest to find our capacity to be kind. And that's where we take this precious gift of applying our own will forces freely to react in a way that is not normal. It's normal when someone's hurting you to get hurt. It's not normal to be like, oh, you must be suffering. But this is our ultimate task of being the most human, loving, free being. Our liver can take so much abuse and recover. It's kind of amazing. Even to the point where you can lose like 2/3 of your liver and it will grow back. But the other crazy thing is that if you have a disease of the liver, even though your liver, regenerates, until you take the dive and take the inner work and take the changes of lifestyles to change something, it's not going to grow back a healthy liver. So again, it is affected by our inner life, our inner energy. Bringing us back to this essential creative work. Inhale, start to roll up. And then you're going to sweep your leg around, hold onto your knees, and just roll your spine down to the ground. And then stretch your left leg long, hug your right knee towards you. We're just doing a cleansing twist here. So just a couple of breaths. If you're tight in the hips, lift up your hips and slide your hips to the right, and then drop your knee to the left. Take a full inhale. With your exhale, sigh it out. And then make your way back to center. Hug your knees in. You can even rock a little bit, massaging your lower back. And then stretch your right leg long, hugging your left knee tighter, moving your hips to the left, and then dropping your knee to the right. Take a full inhale. With your exhale, just sigh it out. And then roll to center with your feet on the ground, lift up your hips and roll one vertebrae at a time, ending with your coccyx bone to the ground. And then stretch your legs long. And then with your shoulders still, or your head still on the ground, pop your chest up, pinch your shoulder blades together, drag your shoulder blades down your spine, and then let your rib cage rest on the ground. Close your eyes and come into Shavasana. With your next inhale, invite your awareness to the edges of your body. Re-enliven your body with your awareness and wiggle your fingers and your toes. Just another example of bringing the energy into matter. Stretch your arms up over your head. Wiggle your feet away from your hands. Smile because you're alive. And then roll into a ball. Hug your knees in. And maybe come to your side and then help yourself up into a comfortable seated position. Allow your hands to meet at heart center. Close your eyes, let your elbows be heavy. Feel the lightness of your spine as you reach up through the crown of your head to the space above you. Think of the people with us together in this moment. Invite back the image of the person that you dedicated your class to. Empty your breath. Take a deep inhale. Bring your prayer hands to your third eye. Invite the divine light. And as we bow forward, together we say, Namaste. And so much love. Woo-hoo. Thank you.